This is me calling myself out in real time around coping mechanisms. You know, when you numb emotions because you feel very strong emotions and you don't know how to deal with those. So you have your own secret, hidden coping mechanisms that you are too scared to share with anyone because you're too ashamed of those. Well, we all have these coping mechanisms, and it's our way to cope with big emotions. When we feel big emotions, if you have a similar upbringing to mine, you are not allowed to feel those big emotions. So you didn't know how to process them. Nobody taught you how to process them. In society, we're not really taught how to process our emotions. We're just meant to be little robots who just work and go home and raise a family with no emotional processing knowledge. For example, overworking, it's seen as a good thing in society because it makes you productive, rich, if you do it well enough, hard enough, smart enough. There are the coping mechanisms that make you look good in society, like being overly concerned with your diet to an extreme level, maybe not eating carbs at all, going full keto. I mean, they can be seen as good things, or for women being overly focused on being super skinny, that can be as well a coping mechanism for something that you're dealing with. Over exercising, it's another thing that can be seen as a good coping mechanism, but it's actually a not so good one. But there are some bad coping mechanisms that usually turned out into addictions. This can be, of course, alcohol, drugs, gambling, but also more innocent ones like food, because you need to eat every day. So that can easily become something that you numb your emotions with. And then also social media scrolling, I think it's not talked about enough, and I think majority of people suffer from it, but they don't really want to admit it because they're too ashamed of it. But I'll just say it as it is. So how do you start healing these numbing mechanisms? You start doing that by choosing to feel your emotions and to accept that there are two parts of you. The part of you that needs to be protected. So basically, when you numb an emotion, is because you want to protect a vulnerable part of you that was not allowed to be seen when you were a child, usually from 0 to 7, can be also going to adolescence. So you had this part, it couldn't be seen. Maybe your parents would get upset when you're crying and they'll give you a reason to cry about, or you were not allowed to really express your emotions because you were a bit too much for other people around you, adults usually, that also don't know how to process their own emotions. So there is this part of you that is very vulnerable. That's your inner child, basically, that still lives inside of you. And then there is a part that wants to protect that inner child. And the way that our body, our nervous system does that is by choosing a coping mechanism that kind of works for you, that is not too bad, that, or maybe in more extreme cases, it can be a full-on addiction as well. But that's all only a way to protect your emotions, because your body and your mind thinks that you can't deal with those emotions because they're too strong. And sometimes pain tends to have that effect on us, and we want to numb the pain. Even people who self-harm themselves is because their pain is too big, too high, too intense for them to cope with, and then they do that, because it's their way to cope with the pain that they have inside. And the way you can start to not numb your emotion anymore, but feel your emotions so that you become a more regulated human being and your nervous system is more regulated and you function just a little bit better, not like a little robot like society wants you to be, but like a human being that is aware, that is grounded, that is kind, and who is in touch with his emotions and can also feel empathy for other people and their own emotions, because he knows himself very well in the first place and has done a proper personal growth process. The way you do it is by listening to the part of yourself that's vulnerable, understanding what that is and where it's coming from, and maybe it's the little you that wasn't seen, maybe it's the little you that was abandoned, that was abused, that was not treated well, neglected. And then you just talk to to that part of you like you talk with a child, like you talk with a 3-year-old. You'd tell him to know that you're there for him no matter what. You're there to protect him. There's no need to feel upset right now. It's gonna get better. And you are the adult now in place to make sure that happens. And you are the one reparenting your inner child. And also doing activities that can regulate your body in a healthier way, like going for a walk. Instead of doing that numbing activity, just go out for a walk anytime you feel that urge, or get up and do a few jumps of joy up and down and try to smile at the same time. Things like that. Journal, breath work, a meditation, something that really snaps you out of that moment, so that with practice you become really good at not allowing yourself to get back into that coping mechanism, and you replace it with something that is still regulating but is healthier for you. And just by becoming aware of your emotions, feeling them, speaking to your inner child like you do with a 3-year-old kid, and replacing that numbing activity with something that's more regulating and makes you feel better about yourself. See you in the next one. Love you. Bye.